Hello, Philip.
What do you want, Weaver?
Nick Klein, where's the address?
I haven't got it.
Are you saying you can't get it?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that Nick Klein is in witness protection. Like, the DCI is probably the only person in Sunny who knows where he is, and I'm the last person he's going to tell.
Why should I care? You kindly promised to help stop Klein from testifying against me. It's your problem now, and you're running out of time. So what we'd done was we'd rerouted our traffic straight into their reroute from Kent. I mean, it was a total cop.
Let them taste the triple gun.
Aye, Captain.
What's this all about? Big bastard! You mad, deal? I wasn't there! No! Believe me, please!
What did you say to me yesterday? Remind me.
That I'd get you the address of Klein's safe house.
And I believe we discussed a timescale.
Today.
Guaranteed, so where is it?
It's need-to-know stuff, Dennis. As far as witness protection are concerned, I don't need to know. Oh! God!
Are you listening to me? You don't deliver! I'll kill your daughter first, and then I'll come for you! Do you understand me? Do you understand me?
Services rendered. The grand there.
Hang on a minute, young man. I'm not sure I can take this.
Didn't give you any bother, did he?
Things a man has to do to earn a living, eh?
Well, I quite like it. I think it suits me.
You know, I think you're right.
Well, Philip, what's it going to be? Klein be on his own?
At least one protection officer, possibly two.
Shouldn't be a problem. Thanks for that. I'll be in touch. What do you think this is, dear? A fashion statement. I'm on chemotherapy for bowel cancer. I've got less than 2 months to live.
I'm sorry, but murder is murder.
I'm a burglar, not a killer, DL. You know that. You pull this off, you never need to work again.
If we pull this off, we'll be famous.
Yeah, and if we don't?
You always was a miserable fucker, Will, weren't you?
Shit. Sorry, love. What are you doing here? Flight Marshal.
Kickling.
Maybe I can give you a hand. Come on.
Leave me alone!
Dirty, smelly little things girls are. I'm glad I never was one.
But you must have been one once, Miss Trudge.
Little girl, me? Oh no, never. It's true that I may have had a mother, maybe a father too, but no one put me in pink for I'd have raised such a stink.
Is it a nice day outside?
It's not bad, yeah.
Walk me around a bit. Love to see some sky. Now get in.
I didn't do the dirty on you, Dennis. I gave you the address that you asked me for.
What are you going to do now, Philip? Arrest me? Call for backup?
Put that down, Dennis, or I will shoot you!
Oh, you're not going to do that. We both know you can't do that.
Did you want to watch me?
The gun's not loaded, Philip. But you knew that already, didn't you? This just confirmed it. You've been taking me for a ride.
What are you talking about?
The Polaroid's not real. It's a fake. Your mate's cut some sort of deal with my hired gun. Tried to catch me handing over the cash. But they couldn't trust him. Not with a loaded gun. Oh, you're good, Philip. Very good. but you couldn't fool an old pro like me.
You're a dead man, Hunter!
John Smith's Yorkshire Bitter. The perfect end to the perfect evening.
Welcome to the showcase. This is where I interview entertainers, actors, singers, dancers, bit of everything from the entertainment industry, because I believe people like to know about entertainers and actors and how they achieved their success. Please watch to the end, leave a comment, click the thumbs up and subscribe for more great content. Can't do this without you. And these great people that come on here and have the interview take their time, and they would appreciate you leaving a comment to tell them how good they are and you've enjoyed the video. So thank you very much for your support. Today we have an actor, Jonathan Linsley. Hello, John.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me onto your show.
Well, it's absolutely fantastic. I must say you're the first actor we've had on here, Jonathan. So when we talk about actors, can you tell us about what type of acting you do and what you're in at the moment?
Okay, I can. Well, I've been acting for a very long time. I'm 50 years in the business, and the type of acting I do is all sorts. I've worked in television, I've worked in film, and I've worked in the theatre. And I'm very lucky. Actually, there's a phrase in my business which is, the harder you work, the luckier you are. And to be honest with you, I've been very lucky. I've never had to do another job. What I'm doing at the moment is, well, I've just finished a tour, an international tour of the music of Hans Zimmer, which, because I was in Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and Pirates of the Caribbean 3, At World's End and Dead Man's Chest, they asked me to host a show of the music, the film music of Hans Zimmer, because obviously I met Hans Zimmer and worked with him. And for your listeners and viewers, Hans Zimmer is a film composer who wrote music for Gladiator, for oh gosh, the latest Top Gun movie, hundreds of other movies, 156 movies he wrote the music for. So I've been touring with the State Orchestra of Ukraine and the singers from the Broadway production of The Lion King. And I've played 400 shows across Europe. So I've just finished hosting that for the winter tour, believe it or not, in June. And they've asked me to do the summer tour, but I decided not to go abroad again. But I might go back in the winter to host some more shows in the tour later on. So in the meantime, I'm doing a Bill reunion, which is an evening of actors who appeared in The Bill, the television show The Bill. And I played a semi-regular character in that called Dennis Weaver, who was a villain. I quite like doing that because they get a lot of policemen on and I'm the only villain. And it's quite fun. So that's a live theatre show. And in the summertime, I'm coming up to, on the 14th, is it the 14th? No, the 16th of, forgotten, 16th, I think, or 17th of July, both those days, I'm in Holmfirth, which is a little town near Huddersfield, in Yorkshire. And I'm doing what they call a last of the summer wine day, or a midsummer wine day, it's called. And I'm hosting that because I was in that television series for about 8 years. Back in the 1980s, it's still shown every day in the UK, and there's a lot of fans. So that's another thing that I'm doing this summer. In the meantime, I do a one-man show called From Holmfirth to Hollywood, because that was the career path that I had, which was my earliest shows when I was young was in Last of the Summer Wine, and then I moved to Hollywood and did movies over there. That's it, really. So that's what I'm doing now. So it's given me a kind of span of my career, basically.
Not much of a claim to fame, then.
Well, I suppose I don't know. I don't. A friend of mine calls it being a finger-clicking good actor. People kind of they go
Yeah.
when you meet them in the street, they go, "You were in. You did that. Yeah, you know." So I don't know whether people know my name. I'm very lucky. I have some dedicated and wonderful fans. Bill Owen once said to me when I first started in this business, he said, "Don't forget that everybody who comes up to you, the viewers and the fans and those people, they're the people who pay your wages. So just remember to be nice to them." And so I've always courted people who like my work, and I have a sort of online presence, although I'm an elderly person, so I'm not kind of I'm not Instagram and TikTok active, but I use Facebook. I do a bit of Instagram, but not very much. But I enjoy that. I enjoy that side of things. So yeah, it's no, I try not to say I'm famous in any way, but I've had a very useful and successful career. I mean, I've appeared in, if you name all the British television shows that there are, I've probably appeared in most of them.
Wow. And here you are talking to me as though you're just a second-class citizen.
Well, I don't know about that. I like to believe I've got a bit of class, but
you have, yeah.
But so you know, I did. I tell you a funny story. Actually, I did one of the very first, earliest episodes of Casualty when it first started, and I played a copper. And this is how long ago. Cuba was the porter in Casualty, so it was the very first series. And they said to me as I left, they said, "Oh, we always need policemen, and you've been great. Thank you very much for that. We'll be definitely having you back on a regular basis." And then about 30 years later, they offered me another job as a policeman on Casualty. So where I returned and I think I did 4 or 5 episodes of that, where they were investigating a nurse who'd helped somebody escape. It's interesting. I did Emmerdale, I did EastEnders, I did Peak Practice, I did Heartbeat, all these things I played guest characters on and had a ball, really. I've had a lovely time being able to do those things in my life. I also did about, 100 television commercials, advertising everything from beer to Levington multi-purpose compost. So there you go. That's my life.
John, let's go back to Pirates of the Caribbean. Was you actually in the movie?
Oh yes, I was in 2 of the movies. I played Mr. Ogilvy, the head gunner aboard the Flying Dutchman in Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. We were the Davy Jones crew, if you remember the movies. Davy Jones was the captain of the ship, played the organ, was played by Bill Nighy. And I'd worked with Bill before because I did a movie called Phantom of the Opera with Bill, which we filmed in Hungary many, many years ago. And so, yes, I did 2 years on those movies because we were, I suppose, the main characters in the crew. And as the head gunner, I was involved in all the scenes. They had it was a lot of it CGI, so we wore these grey suits and little dots on us because we were monster men. And then at the end of the 3rd movie, we changed back into human beings. So it was an interesting experience. Yeah, 2 years in the Caribbean. Hell of a job, really.
So where was that filmed, John?
2004. I was in.
What location?
Oh, we were in the Bahamas. We were in St. Vincent. We were in the Dominican Republic. We were filmed, and Hollywood, of course. We spent. Our first studio was at Universal Studios because Disney didn't have a big enough studio available at the time to put the ship inside the studio. So we had the Flying Dutchman was actually in the largest studio, Universal Studios, which was quite exciting. And that was my first experience to arrive in Hollywood, and picked up at the airport. And it is a different world. I mean, having spent nearly 25 or 30 years working in British television, where you share a car and they pick you up very early in the morning, etc. You go into Hollywood movies and you get a chauffeur-driven car to yourself, which takes you to the hotel. In fact, when we arrived, there were 6 of us flew in who were the crew of the Flying Dutchman, and we each had a car, which I thought was a bit excessive. It was also a stretch limo, so there was enough room for about 15 people in the back. But it was just me and the driver. And we drove to a very nice hotel. And while we were in the Caribbean, actually, we were filming mainly in the Bahamas, because when they make a movie like Pirates, you have, they build a tank. It's called a tank, but it's basically seawalls that go out into the sea, and then they can control the environment. So you don't get waves and all that kind of stuff. So the ships are flat-bottomed metal barges, and then the superstructure, so they don't have keels. And so the ships you see in Pirates of the Caribbean the masts are only about just taller than I am, so just over 6'6" tall. And then the rest of the top gallants and all that is created by the CGI, which is computer generated, basically computer generated imagery, which is the CGI. Wow. And then we worked with the Industrial Light and Magic people, who were the people who created the CGI, and we that was very interesting as well, because they were the same people who worked on Star Wars. They're the company who started the Star Wars franchise.
John, I'm sure many people would ask, have you had the opportunity to have dinner and meet Jack Sparrow?
Yeah, well, Johnny and I, we spoke we're on set every day for weeks on end. So yes, the people I worked with on that were Orlando Bloom, who we did a number of scenes with Orlando. He's from Canterbury. We did a lot of people think it's very glamorous working on camera and stuff like that, but it can be very boring, because there's a lot of standing around, a lot of waiting to things like that. And I'll just say to your viewers, this is interesting as well. A lot of people think that the chairs on set where your name is on the back of the chair, stenciled on the back of the chair, that is not because they want to flatter your ego and give you a chair with a name on it. The reason why they give you a chair with a name on it is because on a film set, when you think about it, there are 2,000 people working on the film set, not at any one time, but overall. And so you get people who have to come and get you to bring you to set. And they need to know where you are and who you are. So if you have a chair with your name on the back, they can come over, read your name and go, oh, there's Jonathan. We'll get him to come to set. So the runners don't all know everybody. Everybody's different on the set each day. The cast, it's a rotating cast, so you never know. So that I thought I'd fill that in for you. But yes, so it was quite fun, because obviously actors become very badly behaved, given half a chance on set. So Jerry Bruckheimer, who is the producer was the producer of the movies, had his own chair, obviously, and other actors' chairs were laid out in sequence. So of course we all sat in different chairs all day. So I went and sat in Jerry Bruckheimer's chair, and they said, "But Jerry might arrive on the set." I said, "No, he's in Los Angeles at the moment. There's no way that he's going to be coming to wherever we were, the Dominican Republic, today to sit in this chair, and I like his chair." And they went, "Yeah, but so this is how I knew that they needed me to sit in my own chair." But so yes, I did meet everybody. As I said, I worked with Bill Nighy, I worked with Keira Knightley, I worked with Orlando Bloom, I worked with Johnny Depp. All the stars of Pirates of the Caribbean, basically.
So what's Johnny Depp like? Because I see him on television as a musician in a band and things like that, and then you see him in great films like Pirates of the Caribbean, and then you see. I mean, I've been to cinemas to see them all, and it's awesome at the cinema. It's really spectacular. Next time I'm going to look out for you, John. Right. And there's mixed opinions with Johnny Depp. Some people like him, some people hate him. I think after that divorce with his wife, I think there's a lot of mixed feelings about him. How did you find Johnny Depp?
Well, he's very quiet. He's very almost a little bit shy on set. He's not a lot of people on set. I mean, working with Jonathan Pryce, working with Bill Nighy, we were singing because it was raining a lot, and we wet a lot, and it was quite miserable. So we were having a laugh on set. Johnny kept himself to himself quite a lot. He's a very private person, I would say. And also, I mean, When I worked with him, there was no question of him taking any drugs. There was no question of him drinking. He didn't. There was, and he was happily married and a family man. And I mean, we're talking more than 20 years ago, well, about 20 years ago. So I guess, I don't know. I mean, I haven't kept in touch or anything like that. But I mean, I've read what everybody else has read, and I think he probably had a bit of a midlife crisis. I mean, like a lot of gentlemen in their 50s. I mean, I think he's in his early 60s now. He's about 6 or 7 years younger than me. And I think that he probably, under the pressure of being a massive movie star. I mean, we arranged one day to go scuba diving. We had a day off, and Orlando and us young men decided we'd go. And we invited Johnny, and he was on a yacht. He was living on a yacht just offshore off the Bahamas, and we were expecting him to come, and we were all going to go scuba diving, and it was like very exciting, and he set off in his tender to come to the shore, and then somebody got wind of the fact that Johnny Depp was coming ashore on onto Grand Bahama, and suddenly there was a crowd on the dock. There were 2, 3, and gradually 200 or 300, then 1,000 people waiting on the dock. And when he saw that crowd, he just turned the tender around and went back to the yacht, because I mean, he would never have got to go scuba diving that day. Because everybody knew he was in the Caribbean, it's a holiday place, and so on. So I guess under that pressure of not being able to socialize and live a normal life, but he's like I've met a number of movie stars, and he's got this extraordinary thing, which, funnily enough, there's a story about Marilyn Monroe, and she had the same thing. Johnny is almost, you don't notice him until he switches something on and becomes a star. And on camera, when it's the time to do a take, it's mesmerizing. You can't take your eyes off him. Just like the camera loves him, just like his acting is extraordinary. I mean, he's a very, he's a very attractive man. I mean, he's, a very beautiful looking man. I mean, he's handsome. He's quite petite. I mean, compared to me, obviously, I'm a big guy. But he's quite a small man, but with beautiful hands and perfectly formed, I would say. But it's interesting. But so but when he switches it on, it's extraordinary. The story of Marilyn Monroe, she was walking through Hollywood, and a friend of hers said, "You're the most famous woman in the world. Why isn't anybody taking any notice of you?" And she said to her friend, "Because I haven't switched it on." And she went, "What do you mean?" She said, "I'll switch it on." She switched it on, and suddenly there was a crowd around. It's something that's inside some people. They have that kind of ability to. But yeah, Johnny plays his music. Funnily enough, I played the Rock Hall in Luxembourg recently to about 6,000 people, and it was exciting, because it's like doing a rock concert. Because you walk on stage, you go, "Hello, Luxembourg, welcome to the show," and all this kind of stuff, and it's great. And the following Saturday, we were there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then the following Saturday was Johnny playing the following weekend. I didn't get to see him because obviously I was moving on to another date somewhere else in Berlin, I think. So Anyway, that was a very long answer, wasn't it, to your simple question?
It was perfectly answered, John. Let's move on to The Bill, because The Bill was one of the longest running series on television.
Yeah.
And my God, I remember when I was a kid, I used to come home from school and get me hooked on The Bill. It was just so realistic, and it just continued and was an awesome, popular series. Did you take part in that?
Yeah, it changed dramatically over the years. I played in The Bill. I played 4 different characters. They had this rule: when you had a guest star, if you were a guest in The Bill, you could play a villain, and then you had to wait a year before they could have you back playing another character. Which is how it happened. So I started, and The Bill, when I first started, was half an hour long drama. And I played a character called Jack Baloli, who was an armed robber. And I I was suspected of being involved in an armed robbery, but I wasn't. And I was actually organising my grandmother's 90th birthday party. And one of my favourite lines in that episode was when June Ackland knocked on the door of the party with a number of uniformed police behind her. And I opened the door and I said, "You had better be the strippergram," which I quite like that line. So yeah, I played a villain, and then I played another villain, and then I played the what was I? Oh, I know, I was the kind of curator, caretaker of a halfway house for criminals, and then I played the father. Of a girl who was suspected of abusing her baby. And in that episode, I remember spitting on Don Beach's shoes because I was angry with him. He took me to one side because I had some sort of criminal record. I had a lot of criminal records in the bill. And then finally, I was asked to play a character. And this is interesting because the bill was half an hour, then it went to an hour drama. And then, just intriguingly, Michael Chapman, this is how small our world is. Michael Chapman, who was one of the producers of the bill, was married to Jane Freeman, who was my Auntie Ivy in Last of the Summer Wine. So I knew Michael a little bit, so we had a chat about the bill. And he said what changed on the bill was when they stopped just calling the policemen by their second names, like Stamp and Ackland, and became June Ackland and Tony Stamp. And that's when the thing became more like a soap. And you got interested in the policemen's lives and their relationships, because prior to that, the bill had always been about the criminals, and the policemen were just catching the crooks. So when I went back the fifth time, I think it was on the bill, I went back to play a character called Dennis Weaver, who was kind of the Mr. Big of Sun Hill. The whole kind of he was the big criminal. He was a boxing promoter, drug dealer, lived in a big house in Wimbledon, had his own chauffeur, all that kind of stuff. He was a big-time crook. And he'd also had corrupted one of the policemen at the station, who then Phil Hunter. I don't know if you remember the character Phil Hunter, but he was my boy. I paid him lots of money to turn a blind eye to my criminal activities. And in the process, he came round to my house and had an affair with my trophy wife. And and my wife got pregnant by him, but I thought it was my child. And then when I found out that it was not my child, because another policeman told me, I decided to wreak revenge on Phil Hunter. So I spent a lot of time popping up and threatening him, and I popped up in the back of a car and strangled him at one point, threw him across the bonnet of a car. We had loads and loads. I tried to drown him in a puddle at one point. I beat him up, and then eventually he pushed me to the point at which I decided to kill him. And we had a shootout in the tunnels under Greenwich, and he shot me, and I died. So that was the end of Dennis Weaver. But it was more of a soap then, if you see what I mean. By that time, the bill had become like a soap opera, and so I can't remember how many episodes I did, but I was in it for a little while, and it was a memorable character, which is why I get invited back to the Bill reunions. So that was Dennis Weaver. He was a bad guy. And
wow.
I've got a picture of him. Hang on, I'll show you a picture.
Fantastic! I'm not going. Nobody's going anywhere.
Okay. I'll just show you. This is Dennis. This is Dennis with two of his boxers.
Oh,
there he is.
Wow!
So
look at that.
So
yeah,
he's a boxing promoter. So that was
fabulous.
That was Dennis Weaver.
Wow.
So yeah, that was the bill.
Wow. So John, a lot of people ask, how do you become a famous actor like yourself? Is it luck? Is it hard work? Is it qualifications? Is it experience?
It's a bit of all those things. First of all, it's a bit of talent. You actually, first of all, you have to have a desire to do it. When I was a kid, my mum told me this. I don't remember it, but we did a school play. I was 5 years old, and all the children, it was like the first year, first class, and all the children had to recite a nursery rhyme, and I had to do Little Boy Blue, I think, come blow up your horn. That anyway. Apparently, I learned everybody else's nursery rhymes as well, and when the children were facing the wrong way or not knowing what to say, I took it upon myself on stage in front of all the parents to turn the child round and whisper the words into his ear so he'd know what he was supposed to be saying. So I think I was a born theatre director when I first started at 5 years old. And from then on, I got a big kick out of making people laugh and entertaining. So that's what the motivation, then the motivation was there. And then I was lucky because I was guided through school by a very good English teacher who suggested that I might want to join the National Youth Theatre. And I auditioned and went to the National Youth Theatre. And I was there with Tim Spall. I was there with Clive Mantle. I was there with a number of my friends who've gone on to great things in the business. And then, like a lot of kids, I was told by my parents that it was an unsafe profession and a bad idea to become an actor. So why don't you go to university, they said, and learn something and have something to fall back on. That was the phrase. If you don't make a success of acting. So I went to university and I loved it, and I did a lot of acting there. I wrote plays. I wrote adaptations of children's books. I wrote pantomimes. I did all sorts of stuff while I was at university.
Wow.
And we put them on in the University of Warwick Arts Centre and local theatres, and we took stuff out to tours and National Student Drama Festivals and all that kind of stuff. So when I finished my MA, I did while I was there, I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. So I applied for drama schools, and I went to the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School, and I was lucky to get one of the places there that came with a bursary, because I feel for kids now, because they don't get a grant anymore. They have to get a loan to pay for their education. I feel like I was the lucky generation, because I had a grant all the way through my 5 years at university and my 1 year at Bristol doing the postgraduate course. And then I went into rep, and for those people, there are still some repertory theatres in the country, but I went into rep. I did a year in rep in Ipswich, what they call 40 weeks play as cast. So they don't tell you what roles you're going to be doing, but you play as cast. So I did Shakespeare, did pantomime, I did musical theatre, I did thrillers. I did all sorts of things over 45 weeks, actually, as it turned out. Then I went to the RSC and played at the RSC for a little while, the Royal Shakespeare Company. And then I did some television. You can't plan a career path. I remember Peter Sallis, who played Clegg in Last of the Summer Wine and was the voice in Wallace and Gromit. Peter saying to me, there are 3 stages of an actor's career. There's the beginning of the career when nobody knows you apart from your fellow actors and the people you trained with. And then if you're lucky, then you get known by the directors and casting people. And then if you're very lucky, you get known by the public. And if that career path, if you don't do that and respect and learn your trade, then sometimes your career won't last very long. So, for example, people who do one-off television shows, like one-hit wonders in the theatre world or the television world, you do one show and you become well known. It's difficult then to break out from that and do other things. And the other thing he warned me about was staying in a program too long, which was all right for him because he didn't start Summer Wine until he was almost 60. And so his previous work, he had a big body of work behind him. But he said, don't. I called it the Benny from Crossroads syndrome, which was the guy who played Benny. Paul was a very good actor. I mean, I saw him at Birmingham Rep years ago. Again, small world. He'd worked with Jane Freeman. They were good friends. But Benny, Paul Henry couldn't play anything else for ages. He couldn't catch a cold. to get a job. I mean, he just couldn't get a job because everybody saw him as Benny from Crossroads.
Yeah, Benny. Yeah, I understand.
And so I played this character called Crusher in Last of the Summer Wine, but I knew I wasn't going to stay long, so I didn't. I only did 2.5 seasons and a couple of films. I didn't do. And also for health reasons, I lost weight, which made a difference because I looked different. So my original character was different. I've got a picture.
Wow.
I've got one hanging on the wall up there.
The thing for me, Jonathan, is to be an actor, you have to read a lot and memorize a lot. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the skill of being an actor, is remembering what you have to say and being realistic and pretending to be somebody else.
And can you deviate and alter from the script a little bit, or is it precise?
No, not really. Some people think that actors make it up as they go along. That is not quite true. What generally speaking happens is you get a script, you agree a script, you if you're lucky on a drama series, you rehearse. If you're on a soap, you get very little rehearsal. In fact, none at all. So you learn your lines in advance, you walk on, you know what the scene's about, you do your performance, and if it's okay, that's your take and on you go. But no, you don't make it up, an ad lib, unless you're in an ad lib show, unless you're in something that requires you to make it up and stuff like that. So occasionally you can make a suggestion. You can say, can I say this line this way because I think it would work better, or can I stress this word, or can I change this word because I don't feel comfortable? It's not how I would say it. But no, everybody relies on a script. I mean, I've got. Funnily enough, I'm doing this Bill reunion. I just found some Bill scripts the other day, and I was looking through, and it's very precise what you have to say. And obviously, the other actor that you're working with or somebody who's talking to you has to know which cues you're going to give. So you can't just make it up as you go along. So yes, it is very strict, and particularly in comedy. Occasionally, you will get somebody says something by accident and it's funny and they keep it in. And on sitcom, definitely that happens. But I'll tell you a story. I learned this really early on. I started I was rehearsing, but I hadn't actually appeared in Last of the Summer Wine. And we were rehearsing at the old Acton rehearsal rooms in London. And I said to Alan J.W. Bell, the director and producer of Last of the Summer Wine, I said, in this scene, I've got this line. I said, and I think it would be better if I could say it this way. And he said, oh, so you think as a young actor just starting out in your career, you know better than Roy Clark, multi-award-winning sitcom writer, do you? And I went, no, I'm not. And I backed off immediately. And I remember learning that and thinking, if I'm appearing in anything, if I'm doing anything in future, I won't suggest that I change a line. I will make the line work if I can. And then if it's not working, let the director decide, let somebody more famous. I mean, the higher up in the business you go, the more honored you are. I'm sure if Johnny Depp decided he wanted to say a line differently, he could, because nobody would argue with him. He would have a word with the director and that would be it. So there is but one of the things I heard an expression the other day, which I'd not heard before, which is, being full of your own self-importance. They called it star disease. And I love that expression now. And because I know so many people who suffer from star disease. And I'm so pleased that I've managed to avoid that in my life. I try very hard not to be starry about that, or precious, or pretentious. So those are things that I've tried to, and a little bit of modesty helps.
Today we've been watching an outstanding actor, Jonathan Linsley. What can I say, from The Bill, Last of the Summer Wine, Pirates of the Caribbean? You must watch his show reel. Absolutely great guy. I'd like to thank Jonathan for coming on the show. And we're going to have a chapter 2 because I think it's very, very interesting. And John's been a great guy telling some fantastic stories. So thank you very much indeed, John.